joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat as we continue our journey within, as we embrace our true selves. Super excited to be coming to you today about this topic, about the 16, there's so many different more beliefs, but I've noticed that these are the 16 predominant societal beliefs, societal programs that many of us have in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, that is blocking us from pursuing our passions, blocking us from doing what we love to do on a day-to-day basis. So today I'm going to dive into this topic, and we're going to look at each of these different beliefs and possibly some reframes on these types of beliefs. So these are the predominant beliefs that I see in my clients, that I just see in just day-to-day, human interactions with humans in the most part. And so I wanted to dive deep into this topic because a lot of us are struggling with, pursuing what we love to do or doing more of what we love to do. And we have a tendency to shy away from doing what we love to do because these societal programmings are going on. Welcome, woman of Dapper Tarot. Welcome. Thank you for joining me live. So these Journey Within sessions for the month of November, I'm going to be diving into a topic, and at the end you can pop your questions in and ask any questions in regards to what I'm sharing or any life coaching, spiritual life coaching that you want on any specific area, one area that you want to kind of tackle while we are live today. But let's go ahead and dive into the 16 societal beliefs. I'm super excited about talking about it because I know that this is something that many of us have going on, and they block us from doing what we love to do. So let's dive in. So belief number 1, if you join me live, feel free to say hi in the chat and where you're from. I'm just going to be diving into these 16 beliefs. Hopefully I can remember them. The number. I'm not going to say the numbers because I just be forgetting the numbers, too many numbers. But first one is I don't have enough time. So oftentimes we, one of the major reasons, especially living in this modern Western society or just modern bustling society where we're constantly in and out of business and career and children and all that stuff, the constant predominant thought is I don't have enough time. And the truth of the matter is that we each have the time that we allocate towards what we deem matters to us most, right? 503. Is that like DC or something? I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, so each of us, we dedicate time to what we deem is important to us. So usually when you hear that phrase, I don't have enough time, it's usually because we aren't prioritizing what really matters to us. We're prioritizing what we think we ought to be doing rather than what our heart and soul wants us to be doing, right? So that's belief number 1. Belief number 2 is I have to get married or have children in order to be successful. In our modern society, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a beautiful thing, people who get married and who have children. I might do that at some point in my life. I don't know if that is in the cards for me in my soul journey. But a lot of times, especially this younger generation, we've been programmed to believe, especially with all the like Disney movies, all the movies growing up, there's always this sort of, there was this whole, man and woman and you have children, white picket fence, and that's the ideal of a successful life, right? And really, like, as souls having this human experience, there's so many different flavors of living on the planet, right? There's a lot of baggage or a lot of like negativity around being single or around, different sexual orientations or who you love or marrying outside of your race or being with someone who is of a different race or a different ethnicity, all the stuff, right? And all these different beliefs and stuff like that, they really hold back our soul because we're blocking what could naturally evolve and blossom into our lives just because we have these sort of lower level human belief systems around what is deemable and acceptable in society, right? So when you let go of this idea that, I have to get married, if marriage is something your soul wants to do, you'll know it. Like, it'll feel like a calling. It'll feel like, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. Not, I need this person in order to be happy, or this has to happen in order for my life to have fulfillment. There's nothing wrong with exploring desires, right? And doing what you love to do, but having a desire that might not meet your soul's calling is blocking you. Let's say that's not in what your soul came to have or explore, but you're doing something that you don't want to do. That can cause a whole host of issues. I've seen so many times people who should not be married and who should not be having kids because they're horrible parents, or they're just not as loving and kind as they could be, because it's not in who their soul came to do, but they're doing these things because they've been told since childhood that they have to do them, right? So that's another one. Belief number 3 is getting a divorce means I'm a failure, right? So, and I know I'm sounding like I'm not pro marriage or I'm pro anything. I'm pro everything. I'm pro you do you, live and let live. So let me just make that as a caveat. But I'm just saying certain beliefs that I've seen play out in past clients' lives, current clients' lives, and sort of things that kind of block them. This idea that, you have to stay with one person for the rest of your life, which is a beautiful thing if that is what your soul is here to do. And then this sort of like guilt, around a separation, right? Having separation makes you a failure, right? Like everything in like the idea of failure is just, I don't know if I have a video. If I do have a video, I'll pop a link up here at the at the top. Welcome. I'm finally in the room. Okay. Welcome. I haven't seen you before. Feel free to tell me your actual name and where you're from. But a lot of times we have this belief that, failure is an actual thing. The only thing you can really quote unquote fail is when you don't even try, right? Or when you don't even when what you have a calling on your heart. I don't even really believe in failure. It's just we're just here for a plethora of human experiences. And one of those experiences might be, we did this whole, relationship thing, whether we got married or not. And we said, oh, this was a great run. Now it's time to move on to a different freaking chapter in my life, a different, journey or exploration. There's no such thing as failure. It's just moving on to another life experience. So just letting go of this idea of failure, especially in regards to relationships, will help you to transcend a lot of the heaviness that comes in societal expectations. I've seen this a lot, especially in Eastern cultures and just older cultures where, you just kind of stuck it out, even if it was abuse in the relationship, or you just dealt with a lot of stuff that just didn't need to happen. There's this old sort of adage of, you marriage until death. And it's well, if it's healthy and if it's loving and if it's caring, yeah, but if it's not, then why, right? So that's just another belief I've seen happen over and over. Number 4 is I'm too old to start something new. You're never too old. I love, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite pastimes, especially because I had a belief that I had to get over in my own life, right? Because I'm also a singer-songwriter, composer, and visual artist and stuff like that. And on my other channel, Rachael Alexander, I share my own personal journey and stuff. And one of the things I had to traverse actually earlier this year was I'm too old to pursue that, right? This idea that I'm too old, or, because in the entertainment industry, there's this whole obsession with youth, right? And if you're not youth, then you have nothing valuable to add, this sort of it's not really spoken, but it's this sort of unspoken expectation in our societal programming, right? So a lot of times when you have that belief, it's really crippling you from doing what you really love. You're never too old to start something, even if you're 95 and on your way out, right? One of my favorite people was Maya Angelou. I think she had she was going to school well until she was about to die. You know what I mean? She was getting her degrees and learning new things and doing her thing. You're never too old. And having that thought form and that belief pattern in your mind is really what's crippling you from actually doing what you love to do. If you're supposed to be a singer-songwriter, if you want to become a dancer at 70, then go take some damn dance lessons and go do your thing. The only person that's stopping you is you, right? So this idea that, you're too old to do something really is a misnomer, and you're really never too old. Actually, there's so much wisdom and intellect and intelligence that comes with aging, right? That will actually put you ahead of many people who are starting on that path, because you're going to come with a level of wisdom and knowledge when you're learning something new, right? So that's the fourth one, 2, 3, 4. The fourth belief that I see that happens a lot of times that cripples people. The 5th one is past failures mean future failures, right? So this whole idea of failure, I've already kind of covered that, right? But this idea that, oh, something didn't go right in the past, so that must mean that something in my future must also not go right, right? This fear of taking action, or fear of pursuing something new, pursuing something in general, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career choice, whether it's, a health option or whatever, we automatically have this sort of fear that sort of comes up, or belief that, oh, well, that didn't go well, so this must mean that this new thing or this next thing isn't going to go well, right? I see this a lot, especially in relationships. Bitter women or bitter men, there's no good men out there, there's no good women out there, or a failed career. There's no such thing as failure, just one experience, moving on to the next. If you release those beliefs, you actually free yourself up for new opportunities and new explorations and new journeys, right, to experience. But if you're in this pattern of, oh, well, that didn't go right, you're giving it that meaning. Just because something didn't go as planned doesn't mean that you failed at it. It just meant that it turned out something different. You can completely give it a different meaning, which then frees you up to give your future life events different meanings, right? That's the power that you have, right? So that's another thing that I see. Past failures mean future failures. Failure doesn't exist. Reframe that altogether, and you'll find yourself more freer and more joyous to move into something that you actually love to do, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm not gonna do numbers. Next one is my past will always negatively influence my future, right? This is similar to the last one, but this one is more so about recognizing or thinking that your like upbringing is actually hindering you from moving into something. So let's say that you were born and raised Muslim or something, and so you have this belief that women aren't allowed or can't do certain things because of this whole ideology and philosophy that was taught in that whole upbringing, right? So a lot of times when you have sort of, and I'm not saying don't, have your personal belief systems, but if your belief systems and the things that you're raised in are preventing you from being who your soul is meant to be. Like, I had another acquaintance who was a singer-songwriter, and like in her societal structure, you do what your parents tell you to do. You're not allowed to actually have options to pursue your passions. Like if you were a creative and stuff like that, in their society, it's like, well, if your parents tell you that you're going to be a doctor, then that's what you go to school and you become. You don't ever go against your parents, because that's not something that's allowed, and it's actually brings shame and all the stuff on your parents and on your family. Now, when you're awakened and you kind of transcend all these sort of human conditionings, right? Well, many times people get trapped into that whole thing, and they start living their lives, and they wake up 40 or 50 or 60 and being like, damn, I just spent the last 30 years doing something that wasn't even really in my heart to do. I kind of hated it low key for the whole 30 years, but I did it because that's what I was told I was supposed to do, right? Instead of waking up like that, when you have this spiritual awakening, and even if that was your experience, you can then be like, well, I'm 50 now, or I'm 60 now, but what did I really want to do? I really wanted to become a painter, or I really wanted to pursue music, or I really wanted to, get into herbalism, or whatever your thing is, right? So you can start, as you awaken and start to grow in your spirituality, grow in your self-awareness, that this fleshly, earthly suit and all the societal programmings that come with it are really temporary, and you have the freedom to do what your soul has come to do, and that will lead to a lot more joyous, fulfilling, passion-filled life, right? So that's the next one. The next one that I don't know, I think I'm on number 7. I'm looking down at my phone if you see. The next belief that I see that happens a lot is my resources are limited, right? So being resourceful is one of the main things that I like to encourage my clients to become, because a lot of times you have everything that you need right now. And even if you need to learn a new skill, good old YouTube University, even let's say you don't even have the cash flow to dive into a new skill, but maybe you do. Recognizing that being resourceful is all about recognizing that, one, if you want something, then the mere desire that's set in your heart means that you have the capability and the resources around you to start with where you are. A lot of times we're not afraid to start something. We're afraid to start something small, right? Like, so let's say that you've created this really big career at this as a tax accountant or whatever, or a tax lawyer or something, right? And then now you're recognizing, I want to pivot and I want to become a chef or something, right? Or something like that, like just giving an example. But this idea of, oh, well, I don't have the resources, or I need to learn, or things, all the limiting beliefs that kind of come up around that. is a lot of times we're not afraid to start. We're really just afraid to start small. Well, I just have this big, career and everyone knows me as this and that. But now I'm going to be starting completely from scratch. I might even suck. Like I might make mistakes. Like that's a part of the journey of life, like making mistakes, failing, falling on your ass, right? Like that's a part of the journey of life and it's fun, right? Like if you ever see a child out in nature, right? And they're learning how to walk, right? And like a baby learning how to walk, or they're learning how to ride a bicycle, maybe they fall and maybe they scrape their knee, and depending on the child, they might cry or they might just get back up and be like, ooh, that was fun. Let's try it again. But they don't say, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Most of the time. Sometimes children do that, but most of the time, if they don't have any limiting beliefs within themselves, they'll get back up and like, oh, let's try that again. I want to really master this whole thing of riding a bicycle, right? Like that's a part of being resourceful. There's a resourcefulness within you. Once you start making a decision and deciding, right? Cutting off any other possibility that you can quote unquote fail. There's no such thing as failure. It's just experiences and feedback, right? Then you'll start to notice certain doors open. You'll start to meet certain people. Like doors will open. You'll start to connect with other people. Like, hey, I really thought about this thing and I wanted to take this, this famous chef is coming into town and I wanted to know if you wanted to accompany me because I wanted to take their course. You'd be like, oh, that's so funny because I'm really thinking about getting into becoming a chef. Like just by you making decision that you want to do something, doors will start to open. But if you don't make that decision because you think you don't have the resources to do it, then you cut off the universe's ability to vibrationally match you with like-minded or like attract experiences, right? So that's another belief. Another belief is I think this is number 9, lack of major progress means failure. Sometimes taking baby steps is what it's all about. Actually, most of the time, 99% of the time, everything is all about baby steps. It's not about getting everything right in the first try. Most of the time, you're going to make quote unquote mistakes. Most of the time, you're not going to get it right the first time. If like you're, let's say, coming to this idea of meditation and you're really trying to quiet the mind, and you find that when you sit down, maybe for the first time or a few times, like your mind is just going haywire. It's just monkey running all around the room and you just thinking thoughts and you just can't get it. And you're like, God, I suck at meditation. I'm never going to do it again. Like that idea, right? Like hinders you from even starting to enjoy the benefits of meditation because you already starting to develop a belief that, oh, I'm not making progress. That must mean I'm a failure. So I might as well give it up. I'm never going to be good at it. Having that thought process just hinders you. I remember just as a child, sometimes people, like other little kids who were struggling in school, would say like snarky comments to me like, oh, watch when you get to 5th grade, it's going to be so much harder. Like you think you can get straight A's because you're in 1st grade. That's easy. That's child's play. But when you get to 5th and 6th grade, it's going to be so much harder. You got to learn this and this and this. And I used to think to myself, nothing is hard. It's just unfamiliar, right? So that's a reframe that you can carry with you. Like nothing is ever hard or impossible, right? It's just unfamiliar. And once you start to engage in whatever your passion is, whatever the thing is that you want to do, whether it's relationships, learning how to communicate better, learning how to meditate, whatever is the thing that you're wanting to pursue, right? It might just be unfamiliar. And if it's unfamiliar, that means that you can become familiar with it. And as you become familiar with it, it becomes a part of your world. It becomes a part of your new modus operandi. And as you operate into the world with this sense of empowerment, like, oh, okay, I'm learning it. It's okay that I'm learning it and I might get it wrong here and there, but I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm expanding into something new. So letting go of this idea that, lack of major progress means failure. The next one, I think number 10, is I compare myself to others. One of the comparison is what, I can't remember who said this, but it's a famous quote that is quoted all the time. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? Never compare your journey and what you're here to do with someone else. Every person on this planet is a unique individual expression of the divine, of God, of source, whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence, here to have a plethora of different human experiences that they're having. So by comparing your unique fractal to someone else's unique fractal, you're literally doing yourself and them a disservice because you're not allowing yourself to blossom in whatever time frame or whatever way you're supposed to blossom. Just because Sally, let's say, let's bring it to money, became a millionaire at the age of 22 and had her children by the time she was 25, doesn't mean that you're a failure for finally figuring it out at 57. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, stop comparing yourself to other people, because that only robs you of the joy of your own expression, of your own exploration, right? But it also robs you from even pursuing it. A lot of times we'll compare ourselves to other and say, well, they got it at this time, or they did it this way, so that must mean I'm not good. Like, I remember a friend of mine used to say, oh yeah, I remember like my when I was growing up, I really loved playing the drums, but like my brother was like just such a genius at it. Like, it just came so effortless to him. So I just figured that because it wasn't coming so easy to me, that it must mean that I'm not good at it. And so that my friend stopped playing the drums, right? Just because someone else got it a little bit quicker. You know how many times I've met so many artists, because I'm an artist, like I'm in that artsy world, how many artists I've met who literally struggled for years at trying to master their thing, but because they didn't give up and because it was really their passion and they put in the time and the effort to master whatever it is that they really wanted to, like, they're like really great at it now. But if you met them like 5-10 years ago, they sucked. Like, we all suck at the beginning, right? So this idea that, you know, you have to compare yourself to other people will always stop you in your tracks from pursuing your passions, because everyone is here for their own unique journey. So that's a reframe. Like, I'm here for my own unique journey. I will blossom in my own time. That's an affirmation that you can start to embody and embrace as you embark on your own journey, right? So that's another belief. Another belief that I see common is I am not responsible for my current situation, right? So self-abdication, where you're just sort of abdicating your role or your responsibility for your own life, right? So I see this a lot when people are blaming other people, like, oh, well, they did this to me, or, you know, because I had this type of mother or this type of father, you know, this is why I'm not where I really want to be in life, right? Okay, we each as souls chose our family, even if it was an abusive environment or it wasn't necessarily the best copacetic environment that we decided to incarnate. We knew that this was what we came to do. But, you know, there's this one story, I can't remember, I think I heard it from Tony Robbins or something like that, and he was saying, was it Tony Robbins? I can't remember. So, but it was this story of these two twins, right? And one of them had become a millionaire and like the successful person who was giving back to the world. And the other one had become a drunkard, right? So their father was an abusive drunkard or whatever. And the mother used to just kind of like be quiet and let the father handle everything. But he was abusive to the boys, them as twins, and the mother. And so they did an interview with these twins, right? The identical twins. And they said, you know, they interviewed the millionaire one and was like, so how did you become a millionaire? Like, what made you really want to pursue, you know, this passion and bring to life and help people and da-da-da? And he was like, you know, well, I came from a really broken home and my father was drunkard and he was abusive. And I just knew that that's not what I wanted for my life or my children in the future. And so I decided I was going to do everything in my power to not become like my father and become a man that was admirable and that could really give back to the world, right? So that was a millionaire. That was a millionaire twin. And then they asked the other one who was in and out of prison and who was a drunkard and became abusive as well. They said, so what do you think turn of events led you down this path of, you know, kind of being in and out, addicted to drugs and in and out of jail and stuff? And he had the same freaking excuse, but his excuse, he turned it and chose a different path, right? And he was like, well, you know, I came from a broken home and, you know, my father was abusive and he was a drunkard and all this other stuff, right? And it was the same reasoning, but instead of using it and saying, well, I don't want to be like this person, he used that as an excuse to follow along in his father's footsteps, right? So we each have our own power to decide who and what we're going to be, how we're going to show up in our lives, right? No matter what challenges you're going through right now, whatever is really boggling you, there's a way out. There's a door that is waiting for you to walk through it. You just have to decide that you want better. And the moment you decide that you want better, you are taking full 100% responsibility for your life as a divine creator that you are. And you can start creating from that place of personal power rather than from this place of victimhood, right? So that story or that analogy of those two twins I wanted to show you, like, two different people can come from the same exact environment but have completely different outcomes. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but it's just going to be a more enjoyable experience on a human level, right? When you start doing more of what you love, give back and all that stuff, right? So that's just another excuse or another societal belief, right, that I see that happens is, feeling that you're not responsible for your current situation because you're at effect to life, and you're sort of in this victim mentality, and reframing that and being like, I'm a divine creator. I create my own reality, and I can choose and create whatever I want to bring forth into my life moving forward, right? And then another belief that I see that happens a lot is I don't deserve success, or success is outside of me. So these are two different kind of flavors of the same thing, is this sense of unworthiness where you're feeling unworthy of success. Who am I to want to be great? Or who am I to want to be the first person in my family to go to college? Or who am I to, shine my light so bright, and or this sense of undeservingness or unworthiness, right? Or this idea, another side of the coin, is thinking that success is outside of you, right? So even though I gave that example of the millionaire and stuff like that, that's not my definition of success. I always encourage my clients when I get work with them, but just in general, I encourage you to define, what does success mean for you, and then go about living your life according to that, right? For some people, success means reaching spiritual enlightenment. For others, it means, leaving a legacy for their children. For other people, it means, raising the best children, or, reaching a certain height, level in their career. Or it might mean just joy and fulfillment on a day-to-day basis, and feeling happy with yourself and content with who you are, right? Success means so many different things to other people. So defining what success is for you is really important. And I encourage you to have two different definitions, right? Like on a human level, right? You can have this sort of like, oh, I want to reach certain things in my life, have a level of, health, well-being, abundance in my life to allow me to do XYZ in my life, right? Have that, but then also have an internal version of success. What does success feel like on a day-to-day basis? What does me being a success feel like? For me, that is experiencing peace, love, joy, and my divinity on a day-to-day basis, feeling connected to my higher self and not feeling shut off or not connected to my intuition, right? So defining what success means to you, releasing this idea that success is one outside of yourself, and also the idea that you don't deserve success. The fact that you exist, right, on this planet, in this time, right now, means that you are deserving of success. You are a divine fractal of source. You are a divine fractal of what we call God, infinite intelligence. How could you not be worthy, right? You're right. Like, think about it. Like, if you are literally an aspect of the divine, how could you not be worthy? Like, how could you not be worthy of success? How could you not be worthy of joy? How could you not be worthy of peace? How could you not be worthy of who you're meant to be on the planet, right? Like, by the very definition of you sitting here breathing, watching this, means that you're worthy. Like, this is your permission slip if you ever needed one. You're worthy of whatever it is that your heart desires, right? So that's another reason, or another sort of belief that I see that permeates in some of my clients and customers and things of that nature. Okay, so the next one that I see that happens a lot is I worry what others think about me, right? I worry what others think about me. So a lot of times this kind of comes back to the comparing yourself with others, but this is another aspect of sort of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of that sense of wanting to belong to someone, right? And so sometimes we will sacrifice our hearts and souls dreams, our heart and soul's calling, because we're trying to belong to a certain group, right? Whether that's our family group of trying to fit in, or, this group or whatever. Like, at times we think that by not being true to ourselves, we can stay in this group, even though there's a little bit of suffering. Because every time you sort of deny your true self, it's like killing pieces of your soul. That might be overly dramatic, but it feels like that on a human level. Like, pieces of your soul is slowly withering away. The fire that's within you is slowly turning to ashes and embers, right? So like, letting go of this idea that, one, if being yourself is a problem for the people around you and they can't really embrace you, you got to really ask you, do they truly love you, right? Because someone who truly loves you gives you the space to truly be yourself. And the first person who really should love you is you. You got to love you. You got to love you enough to allow yourself to be who you're meant to be on the planet. If you like dyeing your hair black and painting your nails, red and having piercings everywhere, but that doesn't agree with your, Catholic family, then maybe, you need to reevaluate that. Standing in your personal power, eventually they will either come around or you'll find a new family unit or a new set of friends who really support you in being who you're meant to be. That's it. Another example, like dressing a certain way might make people not love you. Caring about what other people think to the point detriment of you not being who you're supposed to be, is it really worth it in the end? There was this medical intuitive, I can't remember her name, but she did a lot of interviews with a lot of people who were on their deathbeds, right? She would sort of be there at the end of people's lives, right? And a lot of times, a lot of what these older humans would say as they're on their way out is, I wish I did more of what I wanted. I wish I followed my heart more. I wish I stopped caring what other people thought about me and just did what I really wanted to do, right? You don't want to have that regret on your deathbed, right? So instead of letting this need to belong to a group of people that don't support you and who you are, reevaluate, can I give myself the space enough to love myself in order to be myself? And as you do that, you'll start to attract like-minded people, right? That's just a law of attraction. This is the laws of Tahuti, right? Law of correspondence, as within, so without. If you don't accept yourself, you're going to continue to attract other people who don't accept you either, right? So it's just a reflection, right? The mirror reflection. So that's another belief that I see that happens a lot. And then another belief is, I don't give myself the love, compassion, and understanding I give to others. I see this a lot with my empathic people. Raise your hand if you're an empath, right? My women, but it happens in men too, but I see it a lot, especially in women empathic people, where you will give your children, especially women with children and stuff like that, you will give your children so much grace and ease, or your husband or your partner, so much grace and ease to be themselves, right? So much grace and ease and understanding in their own journey or the mistakes that they made. But when it comes to you, you're super hard on yourself. You're your worst critic. You don't even give yourself grace enough to make a mistake, to have quote unquote failure, right? So not giving yourself the same grace that you lend to other people is a disservice to you. It's like literally being on a plane. The plane is going down and you're putting the mask over your kid, but before you can even do that, you pass out because you forget to put your own mask on first, right? So it's this sort of idea of we continuously give out of an empty cup because we're not filling in our own cup. One of the things that empaths or creatives need to learn is that you can't give out of an empty cup. What you gonna give? Ain't nothing in there, right? So you have to fill up your own cup before you can help other people. You have to put, it's okay to put people's needs and desires and stuff like that as a priority, but the first person in line of that prioritization needs to be you, right? So recognizing that you can give, of course you want to give other people love, compassion, and understanding for whatever it is they're going through and traversing or they're embarking upon. But the first person in line that you need to give that love, compassion, and understanding to is you, right? And your own journey. Because how could you really truly give it if you don't even experience it for yourself, right? So that's another belief that I see that happens a lot. And then another belief that I see that happens a lot is I can do everything myself, or I should do everything myself, right? This idea that you don't need help. We all need help. We're all connected, right? So it might seem counterintuitive to what I'm saying before, but a lot of times, this is sort of this, this hero syndrome that I see in my high achieving women a lot of the times, where you feel like, oh, well, I can't show a moment of weakness, or that they might think that I'm not, man enough, or I'm not woman enough to do the job. Or, if I ask my children for help, then, this idea that you have to be a martyr, right? This idea that you can't get help or receive support in your journey, right? Letting go of this idea that you have to do it alone. You can ask for help, right? Ask for help from the people that you can depend on, people that will be there for you, right? And if you don't have anyone, start developing friendships, right, with people who are loving and kind and compassionate like you, and you'll start to realize that you can start to lean on people, right? A little bit. Not that we all have to like abdicate our responsibility and say, just take over my life. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that's not what you're doing, but recognizing that you're human and that it's okay to need help every now and then, right? Like if, let's say you're moving into another place, you ain't gonna want to move by yourself, right? Either you're gonna hire somebody to help you move, or you're gonna ask your family or friends to help you move some furniture. You're not gonna do it all by yourself unless you're the Hulk, right? So having the fortitude and the wisdom to know when to ask for help, and it's okay to need help. There's nothing wrong with needing help. There's nothing wrong with asking others to support you in whatever way you need support. If you need support with asking your kids to clean up the house, then ask your kids to, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just that idea of letting go that you have to be Superwoman or Superman, or that you have to be a martyr in order to achieve your dreams. It's like, nah, like we're all connected, and there's support available for you, right? If you just ask. And then the second to last one, so this is the 15th belief that I see that is very common, is I'm not smart enough, or I'm not fill in the blank enough, right? This idea that you're not enough, right? And this idea really stems from this sense of lack of worthiness, this belief that you aren't, divine enough to do whatever it is that you want your heart and soul is calling you forth, right? Let's say you get a divine inspiration to write a novel, right? And then you think, well, who am I to write a novel? I've never even written a novel. Like, I read a lot of books and stuff, but like, I don't know even where to start. Let go of that belief and just go buy a book or take a course on how to write a novel, right? And then write the freaking novel. And maybe it sucks. The first draft might not be the best, but then you go and maybe get some feedback and then like, okay, this is how I can shift this and make maybe the plot characters this way and make the plot a little bit more like this. But if you don't try, or if you don't like give yourself the fortitude that you're smart enough, you're capable enough, you're resourceful enough, you're beautiful enough, you're, whatever, fill in the blank of the enoughness that you might think that you're lacking, will allow you to let go of this idea that you're not enough, right? You're enough. If you have the desire, if the desire arises within you, that means that you have the ability to manifest that desire. It's really just that simple. Just know, like my divine team always tells me, desire equals done. Desire equals done. The moment you had the desire, that means the components and all the resourcefulness and things that you need on a vibrational and physical level already exist. Now all you got to do is just believe that it exists, and then you'll start to shift into the actualization of that desire. But if you don't believe that you have what it takes, or that you are resourceful enough, or to whatever, then you're not going to be able to move into the vibrational match or vicinity of getting what you desire, right? So letting go of this idea of I am not enough, And then the last belief that I see that is crippling is I'm not ready. I'm not ready to start. I'm not ready. When are you ever ready? A lot of times it's that kind of fear of starting, fear of dipping your toe, fear of getting ready to get ready when you're not really pursuing the thing that you really want to do because you're scared that you're going to fail, or maybe you might be scared that you're going to succeed, right? That's another way. I'll link up a link here about, or below, where I talk about the I can't remember how many fears, but there's so many different fears that that kind of cripple us, right? So it's like this idea that you have to be ready. Like what does readiness look like, right? Just the desire. Having the desire is your clue that you're ready to do whatever it is that you really want to do. If you have a desire, that means you're ready. Here's another permission slip if you need one, right? If the desire is arising in your heart, you feel excited and passionate, and maybe you're even a little scared around it, that means that you're ready, right? You're ready to start. There is no best time to start your passion. There is no best time. Even if you can set aside 5 minutes a day. We all got 5 minutes. You got to go poo every day. You got to go pee every day. Look it up on your phone while you're on the toilet, right? Like, shut yourself in the bathroom, or shut yourself in your room and say, okay, I just need 5 to 10 minutes to myself if you're with family members. And I'm just going to be doing this for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Giving yourself the time and the spaciousness to tap in to start what you love to do is all about just recognizing that if you have the desire, that means you're ready, So those are the 16 beliefs that I see that are common. I'll do a recap. As I'm doing a recap, feel free to say hi in the chat and ask any questions around what I just shared, or any specific thing that you want laser coaching on as I'm giving this gift away for the month of November. So the first belief that I'm just going to list them all out. Forget the numbering. Number 1 is I don't have enough time. Number 2 is I have to get married in order to have children or in order to be successful. Number 3 is getting a divorce means I'm a failure. Number 4 is I'm too old to start something new. Number 5, past failure means failure, that I'm a failure. Means future failure, rather. Past failure means future failure. Number 6 is my past will always negatively influence my future. Number 7, my resources are limited. Number 8, lack of major progress means failure. Number 9, I compare myself to others. Number 10, I am not responsible for my current situation. Number 11, I don't deserve success, or success is outside of me. Number 12, I worry what others think about me. Number 13, I don't give myself love, compassion, and understanding I give to others. Number 14, I can do everything myself. I don't need help. Number 15, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not fill in the blank enough. And then number 16 is I'm not ready to start. So those are the 16 major beliefs that I see that happens over and over that are usually crippling people from really starting and pursuing their passions. So if that is you, hopefully some of these reframes that I shared resonate with you. And let me know if you're watching the replay or if you're joining me live. Feel free to let me know in the comments below which one that you might find that you resonate with most, or that you find that you've made or seen in your own inner workings. Which belief that I shared that you might be struggling with in your own life. Let me know in the comments below. And since I don't see any questions in the chat, always flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being, and your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and experience while on this planet. And if you are looking for more support in creating your divine life, definitely check out the first link in the description box below, and or other resources and the other links below that link in the description box below. And remember, what you conceive is what you'll receive, what you expect is what you'll get, and however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Peace, love, and light.